Hi, Kathryn.
How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Good, good, good.
I
Did you
took a
sell?
long hike this morning, so I may I may not speak up as much today.
So what did you start? I didn't, I missed the first.
I went for a long walk this morning with some friends.
Oh, okay. So
I may sort of run out of energy. It's possible.
I need to do walks. I have not, since Rowdy's gone, there's just been no real reason to get out. And I frankly am not thrilled with the neighborhood. I mean, it's not an exciting place to walk, so I have to go somewhere and it's just, yeah. So I haven't done a lot of it. And it's been rainy, frankly. So there's been an excuse, but
It's not so exciting to walk around the neighborhood, but there are plenty of very fine places, but you have to
yeah,
drive.
it's, yeah.
Well, if it's any consolation, I don't think there's much traffic out there. There wasn't for us.
Oh, that's probably true. That's probably true. This week will be pretty light traffic wise. Yeah.
They're all somewhere else.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. I have a friend who's got to work today, and it's like, oh, that's really sad, you know.
mm,
But
well, so thank you for sending that link
oh
to
yeah.
gardens. I mean, specifically, it was driven by vision.
Yeah.
It's been working at this for at least 10 years, I think, and has this vision to bring fresh vegetables into the community, his neighborhood.
Yeah. 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 You have to just have a place to do it.
Right. And well, it's like our garden. We don't own the land. It's it's part of the property that are these 13 townhomes, sit on.
Right.
And it's covered with kudzu. Took in Andy and I whole summer to clear it way back 14 years ago or so.
Wow.
So we pulled everything out, every root, because
Wow.
otherwise the kudzu just grows right back. And it really hasn't returned at all.
Nice.
He
Nice.
knows,
Well,
but
he
but
did a
so,
good job.
so we just have that property there that no one would use because it's behind some trees, a line of trees. Uh, so it's of holly and other very dense so you can't see it.
Yeah.
And so consequently, nobody cares, if we
Yeah.
use it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I don't have any real property at all. I have a front yard and a strip of grass alongside the fence. And the front yard is, we've got a beautiful pine, which shades most of it. And so at least half of the lawn is pretty much in deep shade and
Yeah.
full of, and very acidic because of the pine. So it's just
Mhm.
not really a nice place to grow stuff. Not a lot of stuff wants to grow there. And then the front yard is a hill, so it's hard to keep water there. Uh, yeah, there's just not a lot. So I've used the strip along the side, which is where I plant what I plant. And yeah, and I'm able to do spinach and lettuce. And I realize there's they've got the multicolored stems. I keep forgetting the name of the plant, but it's a leaf that you eat for dinner. And they've got multicolored stems, orange and red.
Mhm.
Oh,
I'm thinking
yeah.
rhubarb. but that's not.
Well, I have two rhubarb plants that I've planted and they get huge. I mean, they just get absolutely huge. The flowers are over 6 feet tall. And the leaves are, like this. Um, so I've got two rhubarb plants and I have two of these other plants. And I had a kale plant that was just magnificent. And I had a friend help me weed and she just pulled it out. So that's gone. Um, and I've got chives. Uh, and I've got a sage plant also. I had no idea when I planted it. I mean, I just thought it was going to be a small thing. Well, it's huge and it's coming into the sidewalk. It needs desperately to be trimmed some, which maybe I will get to this year because I couldn't do it last year. But it has wonderful flowers on it and the insects love it. Um, so yeah, that's sort of my garden. And usually a couple of tomato plants. So maybe I'll get to that this year. Last year was not a year to do any of that. I did nothing in the garden. Yeah. Where is Ani? Oh.
Any word from Carl as well? I mean,
No, I saw him yesterday. He was leading a group at GRC. We had a nice talk. One of the women there, and Carl's become very enamored of her process. She has a process asking people to understand their environmental identity and what was their history with their environment? How much did they engage with it? What do they know about it? What does it mean to them? Kind of thing. And when she does that with a group, people can see the differences in understanding and have a little more compassion for each other when they don't share the experiences kind of thing. And she was on. Denise is her name, and yeah, she's great. So we had a nice talk. Um, GRC is a group, a worldwide group of people. I guess there's about 1,000 of us now that are all involved in the environment in some way. Um, and from just a little bit to really major stuff. Brian Van Housen is actually working at the global level with ocean, specifically kelp fields. And he's done amazing things and has got all sorts of awards and gets $1 million grants and that kind of stuff. So he's probably the most prolific.
what does GRC stand for?
A Global Resource Lab,
Oh, GRL.
a collaborative, I guess. Global Resource Collaborative.
Yeah.
Um, and so they have regular meetings. There's a group that looks at regenerative economics. There's a group that looks at governance, regenerative governance. Um, there's an agricultural group, and there's well, there's a global insights group, and Andrew, who runs that, is in Holland. He's on the European continent. He's an American who moved over there. And I mean, they're just great people. And so people get together 5 days a week, 4 days a week, actually. And there's a study group. If you're writing or working on something and would just like to have somebody there to kind of encourage you to stick with your
Mhm.
project. And so Nikki Wall does that. And Nikki is a gadfly. She is all over the world. And she was here not too long ago in California. So she's actually met Carl in person. And she's trying to move to France now. She used to be in the LA area. And then she moved to Europe, traveled all over Eastern Europe. Um, I mean, she would just have tales of where she was every week. So
Well,
it's a really great, interesting group of people. Yeah.
yeah, one of these days I'll listen in.
Oh yeah, they're always open. Yeah, yeah, they're always open. And they meet mostly at 9 o'clock. So our Eastern time.
Pacific time, so it'll be noon here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's the what's the one for GRL
Um, so let's see. Let me go.
or
Uh,
GRC? I mean,
GRC, yeah. Okay, just a minute. Let me go. I am working really hard to figure out how to use all the windows that I always have open so that I can actually move through them with some clarity. I can't, if I keep it on the right place when I leave, I can get back there. And if I don't, it gets really hard to know where I am.
well, do you think this is something I could look up, on Google?
I actually don't know. And I don't know how I found it. I mean, I've been attending for a couple of years and I don't remember. They are really good about sending out announcements.
Yeah, but they have
Um,
my background.
yeah, but if you haven't, so let me see.
I can check this right now, actually, see if it comes up in Google.
Yeah, Global Resource Light, they're on Slack. And if you are on the Slack version, then it is really easy to. Okay.
I got this number, say global, it's Global Research Collaborative. There are a lot of there it is. Okay.
Yeah. So what I can give you is Nikki's thing. And Nikki also does a new member orientation.
Mhm.
So this is the link to hers and hers. When is hers? Starts at 10, I think. And it's 5 days a week. So you could always bop over there and ask her to connect you. But Slack would be the place. If you get on Slack, then you can find everything. So let me see if I can find my own Slack connection.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get it from you because evidently there's a Global Health Research Collaborative.
Yeah,
And
well, it's interesting. I don't think we do anything on health. Dee Dee Pearson is doing a thing on health tomorrow, which I'm hoping I can get into. And I'm really curious to see what she's come up with.
then there's a semiconductor research corporation.
No.
Oh man, there's a lot of them. International research.
Oh, I had.
There's one on girls' education specifically. So it's GARC. Yeah, I'll have to get it
uh,
from you. It's not, yeah.
okay. All right. So just a minute. I should be able to get you a link of some kind. Oh, I just, I feel so. GRC. Okay, here's the weekly update.
Well, that might get me at least into the sphere.
Yeah, and I think it will give you
Yeah.
the Slack stuff. Yeah, because they've got the calendars in here.
What's her name?
This is Nikki Wall.
Mickey.
Nikki, Nikki. She's a wonderful, absolutely amazing human being.
Hmm.
So I just put that in the chat too.
Oh, there we go.
So the first one is her weekly work meeting. So you can actually talk to her there. And the other one is a link to the update on December 23rd.
Give me a second. I'll write this down.
Yeah, and a lot of the Slack threads are there, so you can use them to sign up. And people have projects they're looking for people to help with and all sorts of things.
I don't know if I'm up to doing that just yet, but
Yeah, and the Insight Circle. Yeah, so we have two regenerative Insight Circle. I guess Carl is doing well. Carl was working for Andrew, so and there's also an education circle. Yeah, so the last one I put in will give you everything you need. Links to everything are there. And once you get on the Slack channel and you can just sign up on that, then you can sign up for anything that you want, or you can just go and see what's happening. But it's an all volunteer group. Um, they are 501c3. They're working with, oh, there's Ani. They're working with Pamela also. So they're part of the Inquiring Systems group. And David is the one who kind of shepherds things. I think he's the one who started it.
oh, I didn't get Nikki's. Wasn't quick enough to get Nikki's last name.
Wall, Wall.
Okay.
Good.
There she is.
Yes,
Hi, Annie.
finally. Hi. Oh, I'm so glad to be with you too.
How are you this morning?
Good. I'm in the I'm in transition. Major transition. So
Are you moving right
need
now?
need I say more? I wish you could see the boxes and everything is in shambles. I don't
Have
know
you
why
been to do you like your new apartment?
I'm not there yet.
Well, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean it's it's simple. You know, it's about the size of my living room. Um, but I can walk to the ocean. I get 3 meals a day. I have people to sit with and talk with. You know, I'm not isolated. I mean,
yeah,
where I live is lovely, but it's senior warehousing.
yeah.
you know, there's nothing.
Yeah.
You know, um, let's see, it's asking me to enter my, no, I'll cancel that. Okay. I hope it doesn't interfere with us. Okay. Huh. Okay.
We were just sort of chatting. I've been sharing with Robert the GRC connection that I've been spending a lot of time with. So it's a worldwide group of people who are interested in regeneration in various ways and are doing various things around it. And they have 4 or 5 meetings a week in different contexts, governance, economics, agriculture, just insights, education. There's an education group. Yeah.
You're using the term regeneration
Uh-huh.
for a mega
Yep.
system thing. Can you unpack it?
Well, that's the idea that we have to make changes at every level. And so people who are interested in certain areas are focusing on those areas, but there's a lot of areas that can be focused on. So
So, so you're identifying principles.
yes, trying to or doing projects. Some people have projects that they bring and we talk about and that kind of stuff. There's one of the women in the governance is her company. There's a couple of people there, and they work with networks of people to think about how to create relationships from a regenerative perspective, um, and to get away from top down and control management and that kind of stuff. How do you do that? What does that look like? So they use a lot of, or they started with a lot of sociocracy things, but they've really expanded beyond that, use different tools and techniques. And she's been very prominent in the governance field. Um, yeah.
Now, do they use plain language or is there a lot of jargon that I would have to know to follow what they're talking about?
I'm probably a bad person to ask that. It doesn't feel jargony to me, but then I've been there for a while, so I don't, you kind of absorb it. But I don't think there's a lot because there's so many different kinds of people, and it's not one thing that anybody is doing. So
I mean,
I
I
don't,
can pick it up very quickly, but
yeah,
it might
I don't
off-putting
think,
if I started in when there's nothing but highly technical
yeah,
wording.
no, no,
Oh, one of the things that comes to me around this is um, the other day I heard somebody online talking about you using improv,
yes,
community building.
yeah,
I like that idea.
yeah, yeah.
What do you see and have to say about that in the midst of what you're involved in right now?
I'm just because I do remember that conversation. So there's somebody in the group that has been working on improv.
Well,
Um,
we've talked about it last week
That's
yeah,
with
right.
Carl.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe the conversation, or maybe you've heard more, so I'm all ears, particularly if there's more.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Yeah. I mean, everybody has, that's one of the richnesses because everybody comes with a different bag of tricks or interests and experiences. But with this, we all have the same focus of what does it mean to be different from the situation that's got us into this problem, and what does that look like? So
Oh, wait, your focus. You all have the same focus and it's on a problem. That's a problem.
well, the problem is the situation we're in, and how did we get here? And so we're trying to live our lives and to do different, act differently, and be different in the situations that we're in. And some of us, I mean, one of the the really regular participants in the governance thing is working with boards of directors and corporations. So she's not all that different. She can't be all that different because they wouldn't hire her. But yet she's wanting to nudge them toward nature to understand how nature really works. What would that look like from a board perspective? How does that influence, or could that influence in a positive way, the management of an organization? And so she's doing all sorts of interesting things in that realm, even though, and she can be very out here, but she tends to work for kind of here because that's her clientele. So she has a different language and working with them, and she often will try out things that she wants to try out with her board folks with us. So she'll come and do a presentation and say, this is how I'm trying to get them to understand this particular aspect of stuff. So it's all over the board. Brian is working with oceans and kelp fields and is developing kelp fields. And he and another group actually, who's not connected with GRC, but who we're both also connected with, um, is doing a proposal for the country of Panama to do research. It started on land with this other group, and then Brian is joining. So he wants to bring the oceans in. And so they're going to do a proposal for both forest and ocean bioaerosols and understanding how bioaerosols are given off by the ocean and by the forest to promote rain, because Panama's got a lot of problems with lack of water, to the extent that they have to limit the number of ships that go through now because they don't have enough water. It's not deep enough to do a lot of ships. And that's a big problem. That's a worldwide problem. So if they can do a research project that actually will regreen and will bring back rain, that's an enormous proof of the biotic pump. So they're working together to do that. So it's just all sorts of things.
Um, the languaging sucks. The languaging, board of directors,
Well, that's the world that they live in.
that's what we're trying to change.
Yes, and you can change some of it, but you don't rewrite the whole world just because you see different. It doesn't work that way. So you have to work with what you have.
Language creates
Yeah,
creates.
yeah, no, right.
The language we use, like board of directors, you're already.
Well, that's a legal term that you can't just not do.
Yes, you
And
can just not do it. You can change it. You can.
there are companies that are doing that, but some of them aren't. So if you're working with those who aren't, then you use that language.
I wouldn't work with them.
Well, that's all right, but she is. So,
And she's going to have to change the language.
well, she may be able to do that eventually, but you don't start there
Why not?
because other people aren't on the same board as you, the same page as you.
If they don't hear something that's innovative.
It's a long process with some people. You have to start where people are. That's just how it works. That's why it's not a flip, why we don't just automatically be different. It's a gradual process for almost everything.
I remember from I can't remember their names right offhand, but they're the ones that coined auto polices.
Montaran and Varela.
Yeah. Right. Thanks. Language. The language you use creates your environment.
Oh,
Creates.
yeah, absolutely. Nobody's arguing with you.
But you're saying you can't do that because people aren't ready for that. You have to.
In some places, that's true. So you have to take them by the hand and walk them down that path eventually, but you don't start there. Yeah. Because you just get backlash when you start there. I mean, this whole thing about pronouns, good Lord. I mean, we've got a president now who is like anathema to pronouns. He wouldn't believe that they exist or there's any need for them. And pronouns make a really big difference to some people. It makes them feel like they are suddenly in existence, that they're being recognized for who they are. And it's very personal. And some people just don't want to do the effort that it makes to remember to use a they or them or we with somebody instead of a you or I or us. And it's really awkward.
I don't, help me. I'm not quite getting it.
So are you familiar with the changes in pronouns that are happening?
Evidently not.
Okay, so some people are really feeling like they're not necessarily female or male. And so they've developed pronouns that are different than he and her and she and him. And some of them are really different. I mean, they've really invented words actually that make them feel more like themselves. And so it's gotten to be a quite an alphabet soup, actually, of all sorts of different pronouns. And it's awkward because you don't know what a person has chosen. And so there's a whole etiquette about saying, if you notice in my name, I have he, her, and we, she, her, and we, so that I can use any of those pronouns because I use we a lot because I've always felt that it's bigger than me in some way, that I get help from other realms and that kind of stuff, and it's just more comfortable. And I used to be really castigated for, well, who's we? Okay, so I'll say I, but it's not comfortable for me to say I necessarily. So I can say we now, and it's okay. It didn't used to be. And some
Okay,
people,
I don't get it. I, I, how would we have difficulty saying I?
because some people do. That's the point, Ani. You are exactly showing exactly what I was just said. It's not easy for you to do that, and it's uncomfortable for you to do that.
To say
So,
I,
no, to say we or to call me they.
it's not, I'm not
What?
uncomfortable saying we, like the three of us here. This is
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I.
Yes, but that's not what I'm saying. I am saying I am a we. And some people would ask you to call me they.
It's all.
No,
It's all. There's
yes. And if
all,
you could
there's
call me they, would you do that? Would you feel comfortable doing that? Would you even remember, frankly? Because it's so
oh,
unusual.
only if it included more than you would I be
It,
comfortable.
well, from my perspective, it includes more than me. And you are honoring that when you say the word they or we.
I'm not honoring me when I say the word they. If I'm talking about me,
No, we're not talking about you. We're talking about me and the words I would like you to use when you refer to me.
you're saying that I'm not sure what you're saying. What are you saying?
So some people would say, please
You,
call me they. Do not refer to me as I or me or he or she. It's
I
they.
can't refer to you as I or he. I can refer to you as she when I'm talking to
I
somebody else.
don't want to, well, some people don't want to be called she's, even though they look like she's. They want to be called they's.
I get the inclusion. That's
But
why
it requires you to change a habit and to be more sensitive than you're used to being to the difference. And some people really resent that because it's work. It's hard.
what's the framework that validates that? Let's talk about frameworks.
Some people do not believe they are male or female. They believe they are a composite, and they don't like being put into one pile or another. So they works.
Everything living is a composite.
Correct. So now we're just honoring that with different words than we used to use.
But you can honor it as the framework within which you're speaking.
Sure.
An
And
I and a we and a they and a them.
exactly.
Yeah, but you're saying somebody's trying to change that. You're trying to change.
They're trying to change the words we use because the words we use are binary. They only allow for two different.
They're binary for people who don't understand everything is one.
Well, he and she put you into two different camps, male or female. And some people aren't willing to do that. They don't want to be put into different camps.
I got a male half of the brain and a female half of the
Yeah,
brain.
that's right.
I have hormones of both.
Yep. And some people say, I don't want to be put in that pile of one or the other. Call me gay.
It's the grand organic design.
It is not. It is not. That is exactly the point. We have a range of sex. We have male over here and female over here, and there's lots of different variations in the middle that we're finally honoring and recognizing. But that's awkward for people who are much more comfortable not worrying about that and just having male or female. We have a president who has just gotten up and said, I'm going to get rid of all that. We're not going to do it. I'm going to decree there's only men and women in this country, period.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yeah.
He's so stupid.
Well, and it's painful for those people who feel they're in the middle somewhere.
That's not even intelligent. That's not even recognition of the oneness of everything.
No, it's not.
But that doesn't mean we follow that track and define according to how he's setting it up.
Okay. Yeah.
The greater evolutionary step is to recognize the oneness of everything.
And to recognize the range of differences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Within us.
Yeah.
And among us.
Yeah. But it's awkward for some people when the language changes.
Well, that's why those of us that are not awkward should take the lead in this every chance.
Well, they are, but they're getting a little backlash.
Robert, what do you have to say about this?
I'm not argumentative on this score.
You're what?
I'm not argumentative about this subject, but I definitely do not understand where it comes from.
Right.
I think you described it pretty carefully, Kathryn, and I can understand that. But why? Well, young people, I mean, when I was of a certain age, 20, I certainly was experimenting with lots of things. So I can understand it that way.
Yeah, I do believe, and this is where RFK and I agree.
Uh-oh, going into uncharted territory.
I mean, we know that the chemicals, especially the drugs that we take, and when we excrete them, they get into the environment. And we do know that we have seen changes in animals around sexual issues where animals have changed sex, have become both sexes, lots of interesting biological changes in animals and crustaceans and that kind of stuff. So I don't see why we would be any different. And the kids that are born now are born with chemicals in their bodies that we didn't have. I mean, they're just immersed in a plethora of chemicals. We have no idea what those things do. None, absolutely none.
It's all
So,
the more reason to celebrate the allness of everything, of all
well,
of
and
us.
the changes that is generating in us. I mean, to think that we're not being changed by that is crazy.
Yeah, it's
So for
okay.
me, that makes sense. It's not been proven scientifically, so a lot of people don't want to go there. But it just makes logical sense to me that if we're dumping chemicals into the environment that our bodies have never, ever had to deal with, it's going to make changes in order to address it. It just has to happen that way. What those changes are, who knows? But when people feel different and it's so angst producing. I mean, that's one thing about um and we've talked about this a little bit, the understanding of who you are as opposed to who your mother is and who your father is huge. I mean, it's a big piece of anybody's identity. And if you don't really feel like you're either one, that could be very confusing and really a big personal challenge. And
Unless
so,
bring forward the larger framework within which it all fits.
yes, but people aren't comfortable with that. They want it the way it used to be. They want it simple, and it's not simple anymore. It's really complex. And
So,
we're not opening to that complexity very easily,
so
especially when it regards sexual issues and identity issues. We want it nice and neat, and it's not anymore. It's
what group are you part of that's trying to expand the framework, or are you part of something that's trying to expand the framework?
I'm not directly. This is where LGBTQ and transgender folks are really the leads in that kind of stuff. So people who are transgender, I mean, I can't imagine somebody really deciding that they're really not what their body looks like. I mean,
Yeah.
how difficult a path that is to figure out who you are when how you look does not compute inside with how you think you are. What would you do about that?
Hmm.
I
Um,
I would do some kind of public information campaign to educate people, that to broaden the
and
frame.
then you get a lot of pushback and flack
That's
from other
okay, of
people.
course. All
It is
change.
not okay. It is really hard. People are killed for that. People are killed because they dare to say that. And I will tell you that the people I know who have gone through that process and truly changed themselves are amazing, just amazing. There is a clarity in them that you just don't experience very much at all. They really have dug deep to know who they are, and they're just amazing people to be around.
Me too.
But not everybody feels that way.
I've got a friend in Indianapolis for years now, and she is transgendered. She was born male. She
Yeah.
has a penis,
Yeah.
and she's a woman. I mean,
Yes.
she's
Yep.
female.
Yep.
Thinks
Yep.
female, you know.
Yep. And when they do the work, they you can't tell. I mean, they can truly change. But Trump is saying we're not going to allow that
Oh, that's why.
because he's reflecting the feeling a lot of people have. They just don't get it. They don't understand it. It's too confronting, it's too crazy making. And they just want those folks to go away. And they're trying to do that. It is really hard for those folks to be dismissed and not heard or seen or their struggles appreciated for what they are. It's very painful.
What organizations exist that support
Oh,
transgender?
there's a lot of them. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. LBGT, just Google that and you'll find all sorts of places and people around you. Yeah. The Unitarians have been very much in the forefront of that. That whole religion
Nice.
really has been open to that. more so than other places.
Evolution itself,
Yes,
the nature
yes, that's
of evolution
right.
requires us to open our minds to this unfolding.
We live in a different place. Live in a place full of plastics and chemicals. It is not the same world that it was 100 years ago. It's just not. And it won't be for quite a while.
Are you part of a group that's talking about this?
Well, the Unitarians do talk about this a lot.
Do you want to start a group with me?
No, no, no. I'm up to my ears in what I'm doing.
Because I always like what you're doing. What are you doing?
Well, what I'm doing is working on the biotic pump and trying to model that in the city and to do demonstrations in the city and get people back into nature and appreciating the elegance of how nature actually makes life happen on the planet in a way that we can help.
No,
And that's what I'm doing. So,
nature is elegant.
yes, it is. And that makes it simple and easy to support,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. And I think everything comes out of that. If you can just really learn to go back to trusting nature, because we don't trust it, that then you begin to, I think, open to some of these other things because it is how nature works. It is what nature is doing. You know, we're all nature, we're all responding in our own way to the environment we're in,
Yeah.
just like every other living thing. So, and when it looks different, well, it just looks different. That's just what happens. Those are
I
the
I just wrote in my journal, nature is elegant. Trust her. And then that put me back into this confusing dialogue about gender.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you come from that perspective, it's totally different.
What's her name? She's an indigenous woman, and I've got her book, but she uses the word ki, ki, for
Yes.
for
Robin Wall Kimmerer.
that's her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So key and kin.
Ki and kin, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so that's somewhat helpful. It doesn't solve it, but
Yeah.
it keeps things moving.
Well, it keeps you in relationship.
Yeah, it keeps you in relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We're so used to separating that when we don't like something, it's really easy to just pull back and push it away and do that. When you see it as kin, well, then you kind of open to it in some kind of way. You got to figure out how to embrace it in a way that keeps you in relationship. And we don't have that habit.
But but the what would the word be? The truth. I'm trying to think of an adjective for truth. Um, but the truth is
Authentic,
we're all part of each other. Huh? What did you say?
authentic.
Yeah. I mean, we're all part of the same thing.
Yeah.
Is that uh Robert, is that a challenge to Grok that we're all part of the same thing? I just want your input.
I would say that on an intellectual level, it's something that many of the people I work with sort of assume as a construct, a framework from which to start. But
Say
no,
that.
they assume it's a framework from which to start, but nobody knows what it means. What it really means. I mean, it has something to do with following the same. I mean, that's why in the Christian book of Revelation, it emphasizes the word by which they meant Shekinah, in the Old Testament, and which in the New Testament was, the word of life. And there are many who actually carry those same, many different peoples who carry that same meaning, that life moves as a current through all of us. And we all treat it differently. And I don't mean that in the sense of disagreeing. I mean, even if we were totally plugged in, we would be treating it differently, because that word of life would trigger response from me in a certain way, which is authentic to me. And then you, Ani, it would trigger something else. And Kathryn, something else still. And that's what I love about dialogue, because to me, it mimics enough that word, that flow of the word of life, that we are responding to each other's conversation in ways that is authentic to us. And
that's the delight of variety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is. And that's the only way I can envision this, because we're never going to get there intellectually. Never. Because there has to be a point of agreement, and we'll call it, the spiritual heaven on earth is sort of the receptacle, the gathering place of this flow of life. It's the words that I can just sum up right now to kind of describe it. There is a connection point between, what we consider the spiritual heaven and the earthly heaven. In other words, what we live within. And we're never going to get to a point where we all agree on the same earthly heaven. Forget about it. I mean,
Yeah.
not even
It changes.
close.
It doesn't stay the same anyway.
And there's that too. So the way I see it is that we're all coming from this, that I think people will begin to develop a sensitivity to what is moving, the current of life moving through them and expressing through them, just might be in total agreement and, connected to what's moving right now through you, whoever they're speaking to. And that's as close as I can get, because we'll never agree on, well, I like ice cream.
Curiosity comes in.
Yeah, well, curiosity has to be there. And I think, in any dialogue, there has to be the openness to that process.
Yeah.
Like improvisation. And that's why it's such a great way to talk about it, I think.
Yeah.
The two words that work for me that do it all is relational reciprocity.
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah.
That's the flow of life.
Yeah.
Yep. Very much so. Yep.
Reciprocity.
Yep.
But here's the thing. If I'm connected to, this spiritual heaven, in full, like I'm totally given into it, I can connect to anyone else that way. So it's like, what makes me, the truth and the love of life through me, is another point, and it connects with others. What I've come up with as a diagram for that is the dome structure, filled with thousands of nodes. I mean, even in ones that we actually build, thousands of nodes.
The net of Indra.
And they have to be connected in order for the strength, the power of something to come through. I mean, because the dome is known for the weight of the structure. It's by far the strongest structural situation that we know of. And so that's why what they call buckyballs, that are made up of carbon atoms, maybe carbon-60, I think. It has a lot of free isotopes. It's an isotope that has a lot of free electrons. So they bind together in a certain way that pretty much does look like a dome structure. and it's the strongest material known to man. Stronger than diamonds. That's the strongest natural material, but the buckyballs are coming out as being, incredibly effective. So, there are a lot of ways to look at this, and a lot of people I know are exploring them. And I don't think anyone's thought about the pronouns, except that I think you can safely say, and I would say it right now, that we could all use the word they, because there's so much behind what I am. And in particular, we could use the word kin or ki if it's a male, because anything I do, there is a presence of my relations.
And ancestors, yeah.
And I can totally understand that. Well, yeah, I was thinking of the ancestral relations. And so, I mean, they're really onto something. It's like these young people, 20s and 30s, when everything was possible and nothing was left unturned. I mean, I remember that time. And it's very productive. And it is also, even in myself, it's easy to poo-poo it. I'm sorry. It is, because I don't understand it, but I'm glad we're having this conversation, because it helps bring it into clarity. And I think it's on the right track, even though it seems silly at first. But it will take a long time, I think, for it to link into, sort of the social medium.
Well, when I was growing up and people were getting tattoos and piercings and stuff, and now you see them everywhere. You see CEOs with tattoos and earrings and all of that. And so it's just taken a few years for what seems so outlandish to be everywhere. I mean, you just see it everywhere. People don't do a lot of facial tattoos, but I mean, there's people on television and ads with full arm tattoos, men and women. That was unthinkable 20 years ago. Just unthinkable. You hid them. You couldn't do that at work. You couldn't be employed if you had that. And then there were so many of them, you just like have to employ them because that's all you got, And now they're everywhere, and people don't think twice of it. I mean, they may go, I don't like tattoos, and makes me squeamish. But the person who's waiting me at table has a tattoo, and that's just fine. I'm not going to tell them to go away because they have a tattoo. It's okay. And so we do move. We do open up to different things eventually. Just takes a while.
I think mainly self-love takes
Yeah.
care of it all.
Yeah. And that's absolutely true. People who are not comfortable with themselves are not comfortable with other people who are comfortable with themselves.
Right.
That's really true. Yeah. Which is why we have the president we have.
What?
He was
That's
elected by a lot of people who are uncomfortable with themselves, and he's telling them it's fine to be uncomfortable with yourself. I'm not comfortable with myself. I don't like him either. And they go, hallelujah, I'm okay. But that's that's exactly the point. Actually, that's exactly the point. To be recognized for who you are is huge. And they've not felt recognized for who they are. They felt like they had to be somebody else because nice people didn't do all the things they wanted to do. And finally, somebody said, you don't have to be nice. You can be horrible and still it's okay. Look at me. I'm rich and famous and I'm miserable. I'm horrible. I hate all those people too. They make me just as uncomfortable as they make you. So it's okay. And they went, hallelujah. He talks like me. He's honest and open. I can trust him because he says all the things that I've been told never to say.
So you're saying that Americans that voted for Trump What are you saying?
That they're as biased and as misogynistic as he is. And he has made it okay to be that way. And they feel good about being allowed to be who they are, which is true for everybody. Everybody wants to be okay for who they are, whoever they are. And some of that is crappy. What do you do with that? How do you say, I love you, even though you hate women? I love you, even though you would kill that transgendered person. How do we do that? I mean, we struggled with that forever, right? That's the whole spiritual trip. And we've got it playing out politically, where we've got people who've not been able to make the transition into loving people who are really different than them. And they've been crucified for it. They've been told they were wrong and bad and all of that. And suddenly they're not. Well, hallelujah.
So I hear what you're saying. I just wrote the word icon. So is Trump like an icon
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
Americans who don't really think that much of themselves?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the interesting things about the narcissistic personality. It wants so much to be loved, so incredibly much to be loved, that it demands love from those around it. You must love me for to be in my space. I can't stand anybody who doesn't like me in my space. And they're trying to be successful in a way they've been taught success. And usually it's money or status. And if they have those things, then other people give them honor. I mean, you just watch all of these people going to Mar-a-Lago to sit in front of Trump because he now has power to impact their business. So they are going to make sure that he doesn't do tariffs that are going to hurt them, all that kind of crap. And that gives him an incredible amount of power. So they can't tell him that he's the buffoon they think he is. They have to swallow that and make a pretense of how important he is because that's what he wants. And he's put himself in a place where he can do damage if he doesn't get it from you. And he's perfectly willing to do that.
So what is he doing in Mar-a-Lago with people?
Well,
He-
people are going there. That's where he's living right
Right.
now.
He's been holding court like
Yes.
the past month.
Holding court. What do you mean?
Well,
People come specifically to kiss the ring of the great man.
yes, and tell him how wonderful he is because the Bitcoin folks are really hoping to get out of regulation. And Trump's not a fan of regulation. Don't tell me what to do. So they want him on their side so that they don't get regulated. And the companies that, I mean, it's wonderful watching Jeff Bezos. Okay, this is one of the what, 3, 4, 5 richest people in the world. Okay. And he is worried that Trump is going to do things that makes it hard on Amazon. And he hates Trump. He has hated Trump for years. Well, now Trump's in charge, so he's going and having lunch and dinner with him to tell him how wonderful he is and gee, how can we work together and all of that kind of crap so that he's not going to be punished for the hatred that he's expressed in the previous few years.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and to just watch that. I mean, it's like night and day. It's just, yeah.
Well, what's his last name?
Bezos, Bezos. He's
Yeah,
the founder of Amazon.
Amazon company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Started out as a bookstore.
And now we were talking about this earlier, my friends and I. It really is quite an extraordinary thing that he's created.
Yes.
I haven't quite put it in the proper slot in my thinking yet, but I mean, it's killing off all the small stores because the small stores can only carry just so much. we were talking about hardware, for instance. You have to have a whole supermarket sized hardware store if you're going to be really carrying like a specific gasket for a specific type of pump that handles such certain sizes of water input output. And there are very few places that carry that. It would be available on Amazon. And since I'm a Prime member, I don't like to drive a whole lot around this city, it'll be there in a day, sometime, a day and a half, sometime, and oftentimes definitely less than 3 days.
And if it doesn't work, you can turn it back.
Right. I mean,
no problem.
Nothing has ever been provided like this to such a large community, meaning in this case, the United States, but also 12 other countries, evidently.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. So, I watch these things because they truly are an innovation that nobody knew we needed till it came around. Actually, Bezos and his teams actually figured out how to do it, because even just putting together the delivery system, the logistics is just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an extraordinary thing. It's one of the inventions of the modern age.
And customer service.
Yeah.
You feel like they care about you. You feel like you're going to be treated right. You expect that it's going to happen that way. And
it's actually a phone number to call.
Yeah.
So you need intervention.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just giving one side of it because it's also very exploitative and,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And they don't treat their people well. And there's all sorts of things. Yeah.
We have to recognize what it is and then start to understand, what part of evolution is that playing? Because it's definitely playing a part.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got off the subject, but of course Bezos is going to want to keep in business. So, I mean, we've got a mad king coming along. So, you have to be careful.
You have to play the game.
Boy, is the world different than it used to be.
Yeah.
Woo!
And it's going to be different again. See, that's the thing. Nature is having its own say, which we've never noticed before. And so that is going to have a huge impact. And exactly what that's going to look like, nobody knows for sure, because nobody's paying attention to it. But it is going to be, I mean, it's where life comes from. Okay. None of us exist without it. And if we're finding that the food that we've used to eat no longer is grown where it used to grow, then what are we going to do about that? That's going to be a huge driver that people are just not paying attention to.
Yeah. And I think it's going to become quite evident this coming year.
Yeah. Yep.
We've had weather effects this last year, but the coming year, we're going to start seeing the economic effects. I mean, they're already happening.
Yeah.
Already happening in their beginning forms,
Yep.
but it'll become quite clear, particularly if it's enhanced with tariffs. That's the dumbest idea but tariffs are about the most conservative, defensive economic posture that you can take. And it's never done anyone any good, from what I have read.
It's just the whole idea that you can protect yourself from reality is an illusion, period. And we are very good at playing that game. We've played it for a very long time. And now reality is just going to slap us in the face and say, I'm here. This is what I'm doing. You get to make the changes now. And we've ignored that, been outside of that game for quite a while.
Yeah.
Well, what's the difference between governmental tax and tariffs? Is there a difference? What's
In
it?
ultimate effect, I don't think there is, but yes, in technical analysis of how each is, instigated and then, supported, maintained, they seem very different, but in actual fact, it will raise our prices for food
Yeah. And everything else yeah.
and other things that we really need.
Well,
But
tariffs are against other people and taxes are usually against your people.
Directly, but
Yeah.
tariffs are indirect action upon other people's
Yeah.
budgets in the general economy.
non-governmental people can call it a tariff, but the government calls it a tax. Are they the same thing?
No,
The
no.
difference.
Well, taxes are for the people in the country. Tariffs are against other people's stuff coming in. You pay,
Oh,
the people in the country pay it because that's how we manage our money. But you're preventing things from coming in from another country unless they pay a fee to do that.
Yeah, a simple example would be something that has anything, furniture in large part. That whole building of furniture has been shipped over to factories in China because it has such a massive, base of production. So if there's an extra 25% tariff put upon the prices that have been selected for those goods in China, but to ship them here, it'll be 25% more expensive for the company to ship it here. They're not going to take that loss. They can't. They'll go out of business. So they're going to pass on the charge. And so it's never simple, but it's not simple.
So the purchaser pays more.
But we would pay 25% more for that piece of furniture. So in that case, all the additional costs will eventually be passed on to consumers.
So the belief is that because those are more expensive, that we won't buy things from China. We'll buy things made here if you can find them.
Yeah, because that's why I chose furniture.
Yeah.
There are a
And
few,
if you can't find them here, then you're stuck paying those prices.
and
So once they come in from China with a tariff fee attached that the consumer has to pay,
Clothes.
is there also a tax and an American tax put on it?
Sure.
oh yeah, I
There's
mean,
sales tax and different kinds of tax.
commerce taxation of consumer goods is going to remain. The 6 to 8%. That won't change. In fact, the city or state would be getting more because it'll be taxing the original amount this year with the 25% extra.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which will also be taxed.
So is Bezos a guy that has oversight of the money from tariffs that's coming in and the American tax that's being put on, and I mean, to make it a big, coordinated, intelligent stripping of our money as citizens?
I'm sure Bezos does understand this pretty well. And I for one, believe that the total reason for him showing his face at Mar-a-Lago to get on the good side of Trump is to try to talk Trump out of the tariffs.
Yeah.
Because I've just read, I mean, a huge percentage of the goods that that Amazon, disperses through the country are made in China. So it will affect his business inordinately. Bingo. I'm going to have to get going because I've got to call a building inspector.
Okay.
Okay.
This started slowly, but boy, it turned into a romper.
Gee,
This-
that's a deep dive, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. See you
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
Robert,
later.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh my. Woo,
So how is your packing coming? Are you almost there?
no.
It's hard if you're downsizing, if you're going to a smaller place. That's hard.
Yeah, because everything that I'm bringing, I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm planning to bring my couch and my bed and my easy chair and everything else.
Do you have a bedroom or is it a studio?
Oh, no, it's one room.
Okay.
It's one large room. It's not fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not really haven't evolved yet to having fun with this. Um,
Yeah.
I wish you could see it, but it wouldn't matter. No, you can't. I can't
Well,
show.
just turn the background off.
Oh, okay. How do I
Video.
how do I
Where
do?
video is,
Yeah,
that little carrot, the arrow, click on that.
right. And then
And
go to video settings.
it says background effects.
There's blur my background. We don't want that.
Yeah. What's under that?
Adjust background and effects.
Yeah. So do that
Okay.
and then click none where it says virtual backgrounds.
Well, it didn't do it. Let me try it again. Um, adjust background and effects.
Right. You click that and then it says virtual backgrounds. And the first box says none, and that's the one you want.
Oh, oh,
There you
oh.
go. Yep. Yes. 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 Oh, yes. No, we're looking at doing that too. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't found our place yet, but we're preparing for it. So
But you were planning to move a long time ago. I
I've been
thought,
trying to move for years.
oh, so
Yes.
you haven't done that move yet.
I haven't
Okay.
found a place to go to.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've got, I mean, because I'm living with my daughter, she has her own needs. She has to
Right.
have a space. And that's part of the problem. The space she has here, we're not supposed to use. And so we're trying to find a place where she has her space, and we haven't found it yet that we
Yeah.
can afford. That's the other thing.
Right.
So, yeah,
Well, that's hard.
yeah,
Yeah. Challenges.
yep, yep, yep. So when do you think you'll be able to actually be in your new place?
The first week of January,
Okay,
probably the moving date so far is January 6th.
okay. Do you have help? Have you found help?
I've my friend Patricia Gall, who's helping me through this, um, is in touch with a moving company
Oh, good.
that can do it. But that's a big expense.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but I've been saving money for a while.
yeah. I have too for just that purpose. Yep.
Yeah. One day at a time. The only way we can do it. A
Yep.
day at a time. And so the first week of January, I should be there, able to walk to the ocean downstairs and sit with some people and eat. Whew, that'll be quite a relief.
Mm,
One day at a time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can do anything one day at a time. Just about.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So before long, I'll be online with you from my new apartment
Yeah,
room. It's not an apartment, it's a room. It's a big, it's a room with a closet.
yeah. It's called a studio. Yeah.
Studio. Right. Studio. Right.
Well, you won't need much of a kitchen though.
No, my friend Patricia found a little hot plate thing
Mm-hmm.
that that has some shelves under it, and a little icebox thing,
Mm-hmm.
a refrigerator thing, and they'll both fit in the closet. You know, it's a roomy closet
Mm-hmm.
to put those things in.
Yeah, they've got actually some neat things now for that are really condensed so that you don't need a whole lot. You can, it's if it's mostly warming up stuff and you're not baking and doing that kind of stuff,
Oh,
it's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
because all that food's part of the rent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Section 8 will be helping with the rent. I don't
Right.
know exactly what my rent will be, but Section 8 is part of it. You know, I'll have Section 8.
Yeah.
One day at a time.
Yes.
Yeah. I might have to call you sometime,
Oh,
call you
please do. Feel free.
now and then and just saying, remind me what one day at a time feels like.
Oh, yeah.
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 So you're waiting until what to move? What's keeping you
Till
back?
we find a place.
It's that
Yeah.
hard.
Yes, very hard. Yeah. The price of housing has tripled here since I moved here, at least.
So you're in a housing complex,
No, I'm in a duplex.
and a standalone.
Well, a duplex is two units together. So that they're two similar houses, but they're attached.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually have quite a bit of space for what we're paying for, and we're paying below market rent. Even though my rent has doubled since I moved here, it's still below market.
Okay. Can you qualify for Section 8?
Oh, yeah, it's a 2 or 3 year wait.
Oh,
And I actually did apply, I did get Section 8. They gave us $675 for an apartment for two. So it could only have one bedroom. And we
oh,
have two people, and that didn't work very well. And now you couldn't get anything for that price.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So it has my daughter, I've put my daughter on a Section 8 list. Um, and if she got into something, especially senior housing where they only use a third of your income, whatever it is,
Right.
that
A
would
third.
work really well for her. But the place, and we looked at a place like that. I mean, it's sort of like you. It would be a smaller space for me, but it was 2 bedrooms. Um, and she could have moved in with me, but it's way too small. It wouldn't give her the room she needs. It would have been okay for me. I mean, not great, but okay. But she's too young to have her own place there. She has to be 62 and she's 56.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it's been one thing after another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we will continue together one day at a time.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And let's get on to it now.
Okay. All right.
And I'm here if you need to talk, and I know you're there if I need to talk.
Okay. Please do. Yeah.
All right, hon. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.